Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show.
Hello.
Welcome to the Benji and Nick Show.
Yes.
I'm Benji.
And I'm not. So that means I'm Nick.
He must be somehow. I think he is anyway. We're currently sitting in the height of what isn't British summertime, but what has decided to be British summertime. Basically 2 days or 3 days worth of scorching sunshine. So naturally we're spending it indoors, where we belong.
That's right, I've just had a big day in the studio. You've been working away on Big Finish post-production. So, this Benji and Nick show is going to be particularly chaotic due to a lack of planning because both of us have been extremely busy this week. But we do know one thing. We are going to be talking about Timeslip, the wrong end of time. Yeah.
We are indeed. As well as that, we'll be up to our usual tricks with maybe a few little emails plucked out of the email box. We keep them in a box, apparently. And also our usual dose of Jerry Anderson goodness.
Yes, we're sponsored by the Jerry Anderson store. And what's the URL for that again? I never remember.
The URL for that one is shop.jerryanderson.co.uk.
There you go. Should we have a quick look and see what's on there? There's some new, what are they called? Mr. Big Shot figures.
What a big chief.
Mr.
Big Shot. Yes, those figures, we talked about them in depth last week. If you've not taken a chance to have a look at them, you really should, because they are gorgeous. The detail is absolutely astonishing. Yeah. They really are. I mean, they're like
they're gorgeous.
They're so good. You know, they're beautiful. I love them. Hey, you love them too. And
bada boom, hey, bada bing, bada boom.
Bada boom, realest guy in the room. How you doing? And it's the beauty of these is that they are they can be used as toys, but they can also be perfect for display. So they've got a variety of Thunderbirds ones which are out, and I also believe, I don't know if it's out yet, but there is a Captain Scarlet one which is going to be out in July, and the Captain Scarlet one, as is the Thunderbirds, is also correct scaling. So not the actual scale, but correct to scale.
Captain Scarlet is indestructible. You are not. Don't stand on train lines.
Don't do that. There are some horrible statistics about that.
That would have been funny if they'd said that at the beginning of Captain Scarlet. Dun, 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 dun. There are some horrible statistics about people standing on train lines thinking they're Captain Scarlet. Anyway, yes. Oh, so that sounds nice. That sounds nice. Yes.
That sounds nice, doesn't it? Oh, I like that. You can get Captain Scarlet badges. You can get International Rescue beanie hats, which are particularly fab. The list is endless, isn't it, really?
Well, I don't know whether it's endless, but certainly that's the end of it as far as we're concerned. A gift from the Jerry Anderson store to you, our loyal listeners to the Benji and Nick show, is that if you use the special code destroy, that's destroy 3 times with no spaces and all written in block capitals. If you use that code on your purchase, when you come to do the payment, you'll notice you don't have to pay the shipping. Isn't that?
Because who wants to pay shipping? Yeah. Not me. That's
FAB,
sure.
That is.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what, I was just thinking when you said that, destroy 3 times, no spaces. Just those words. Oh, no, I think it was destroy. We should have it on a t-shirt. Destroy 3 times, no spaces. A 3-way slogan.
Actually, just a t-shirt just covered in destroy. People just think you're some appalling anarchist who wants to blow up the world. Have we got any particular Jerry Anderson memories? I mean, I've been working with Jamie Anderson a lot recently. He's been directing some Doctor Who for Big Finish, but that's not a Jerry Anderson memory, is it?
No, it's a Jamie Anderson memory. Yeah. Well, actually, I was going to pose a question to you this week. I was thinking about this because we have this segment. I thought, Nick, what's your favourite... when it comes to Thunderbird 2, what is your favourite... what's the word? What goes inside them?
Pod.
Pods, yeah, pod. That's what I was looking
Yeah.
for. Appliance inside the pod. What's your favourite? What would you reckon?
Thunderbird 4.
Thunderbird 4, yeah, good.
I was thinking, oh, please put Thunderbird 4. I see the numbers go past. I thought, oh, this is no good. They've got to go underground. There's no way they're going to select Thunderbird 4. The mole, I was very fond of the mole.
I love that. The mole, I think, has been my favourite. And I don't know
Drills
why.
into
I
the
just
ground.
used to love it.
It's just this crazy idea that this drill thing, it tips up. And then the drill goes in and it goes into the ground and it leaves. It leaves its mountings and just carries on drilling into the ground. It completely breaks all the laws of
Breaks all
physics.
the laws of physics.
It's ridiculous. And then comes back up again. Reverses. They just reverse the thrust and it just comes straight back on and sits on the top and then back in the pod, back home for a quick polish up. All the muck.
Bob's your uncle.
Scraped off. I reckon they made Alan do that. Alan got the...
It's a rubbish job, isn't it?
Yeah.
Think, well, you're hanging around a lot. Go on, go and clean that.
That'd be a good sequence. They always used real hands for the intricate things, so you could have lots of real hand scrubbing dirt off action. Or maybe they'd have some special sort of device for doing it,
like a big car wash, but like a mole wash.
Yeah,
like a round sort of. Like something like that.
Or it would involve explosions, like everything in Thunderbirds. Yeah. Alan, clean up the mole. It's clean, Father.
I like the idea.
It's actually been vaporized, Father. Damn it, brains!
Build a new one.
Mr. Tracy, why do you insist I put dynamite in everything?
Because it makes a good noise.
Coffee, anyone?
I like the idea of him pulling up to a car wash with the mole and just sort of saying, go on then, and them sort of looking slightly, oh my God, how are we going to do this? So he pulls in at 4:30. We're clocking off at 5. How are we going to do that? It's going to be at least a night.
What is your favourite pod occupant for Thunderbird 2?
That's what I said, the mole.
Yours is the mole as well?
Yeah,
I missed that.
It is. Yeah, it is, and I seem to remember. I think there was a little toy of it that you could get.
Was there a toy of the mole?
I want to say there is. It was either that. It is either I imagined that there was the mole as a toy, or it was just Thunderbird 4. But I always remember I was always losing it as a kid, and I was always losing these little things that went inside the pods.
Oh well, I had the tiny little yellow Thunderbird 4, but I never had a mole. But no, I seem to remember my mate had a big plastic mole toy. Yeah.
I'm going to have a look. The mole toy Thunderbird. Let's have a look to see what type of... You can probably get it on the Jerry Anderson store, to be honest.
It should
going to be
able
anywhere.
To, yeah, yeah.
Probably. Yes, here is that the original Deluxe Thunderbird 2. That looks too modern though. I don't know if that's... I don't know if... Yeah, that's for the new Thunderbirds. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Thunderbird 2... Yeah, I think it did exist. I think it is a thing.
There was a thing.
It's probably one of those like toys in the 90s.
Have they got a kit of it on the Jerry Anderson store, maybe, the mole?
I want to say definitely. Let me have a look. I know that I've got a Lady Penelope car downstairs, which I've still got from
the
when
pink
from the 90s, yeah. That had
Parker?
a little button that you clicked. And
Yes,
we're
my
going
lady.
for a little... It said, Parker, we're going for a little ride. But now it sort of sounds like... It's not very... Yeah, you can get... There is a Thunderbird Jet Mole Japanese toy.
Yeah, I thought so.
A lovely looking Thunderbird's Reveltech mole.
Oh.
And 2 jigsaws.
What's a Reveltech mole?
I've no idea.
Has it got revels in it? Chocolate.
We're pleased to bring you this beautiful Japanese collector's model of the mole of Thunderbird's fan favourite. Exquisitely detailed model faithfully captures the vehicle's shape and detailing, beautifully painted and weathered. A very special collector's item. So I believe it's just a very well-made model.
And weathered.
Whether or not, who knows?
So they just put it out in the snow and then sell it to you. I don't know.
They just shoved it for a while and left it out there and see what happens.
Well, there's our little trip down Jerry Anderson Lane.
Absolutely. Always good fun, and I expect we'll be doing that next week.
Oh, well, let's hope so. If any of you use the destroy code, otherwise they'll just stop sponsoring us. You think I'm joking? That's actually the truth. Right, and I'm very open with it about Jamie Anderson. I said, look, if they're not using it, you can stop. Right, let's have a look at some emails. What have we got here? So I haven't sort of pre-selected. There's someone who's this? Samantha Chilvers says, "Hi Benji and Nick. I know I'm late to the party. Hey, come on in. But I finally bought and watched Death to the Daleks." Whoa, that was our first one, wasn't it? It's so nice to know exactly which way leads to death. That way leads to death. Any chance you can talk about the Avengers? I can't wait for Big Finish to release the Avengers Too Many Targets in August. Oh yeah, do you know anything about that one?
I don't know anything about that one, but I know my Avengers. I like the old Avengers.
This involves Mrs. Peel and probably Kathy Gale and Tara King as well, probably. Listening to you guys is a lot of fun, and I look forward to being entertained for many more hours to come. Have an awesome day. Samantha Chilvers sent from my iPhone. Sent from my iPhone twice. It says it twice. That's weird. Thank you, Samantha. I shall now put that.
Really, really hammer in that.
Yes.
The fact is, it's sent from my iPhone.
I like iPhones. Anthony Zahetner, is it? Yeah, says, "Hi Nick, I think it's great that you read Doctor Who novelizations to your son. However, I was just thinking, if you've ever thought after a long day of just putting on one of your BBC narrated audiobooks and pretending to be a ventriloquist." Ben would love that, actually, if I sat there pretending, going, I tell you what I did do. You know, there's some software you can get online which mimics your voice. You have to spend about 10 minutes saying random words it gives you to say into it, and then it can mimic your voice, and you type in and it talks back to you.
Oh, that's weird.
It's called something like something bird or something. Oh, I can't remember now. I saw it on the BBC on a program called Click, all about how you can, and it's really funny. And what I did is that every time my wife Steph and Ben, my son, spoke to me, rather than answer them myself, I type in the answer and press play, and then try to mime to it.
Did it sound like you? That's the question.
It sounded significantly like me, but more like a computer. But it sounded like my voice speaking in a computery way. It was sort of like that, but also it's programmed with American phonetic sounds.
Right.
So if you type in master, it comes out as master. So in order to get it to say master, you have to type MARSTER, and then it goes master.
Then it sort of sounds West Country, Marster.
It doesn't do that. It just says, I just tried it, I wish I could find the blooming thing, but...
Learbird?
Learbird, that's it. Yes, yeah. So it's weird, but you have to spend quite a long time saying, "A brick fell on my head. Goodbye to Tuesday. I'm walking down the road, but it's exciting." And you have to... all these random sentences come up, and it through you saying all these, it works out. Yeah, so I did mime to that, and Ben did think it was funny.
I remember the strangest thing that I've encountered is when we were in studio doing Survivors, an actor there called Fiona Sheehan. Played
she's
Molly
brilliant, yeah.
in Survivors. She said, "Oh, I'm the voice of Google's automated voice," and now every time I hear that voice, if somebody's got a Google phone or if it's on an advert or something. It's just her voice. It's such a bizarre thing. It's just, you don't expect to just hear random.
Yeah.
In everyday life, it's very strange. But the power of computers is just unbelievable, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned probably on the Big Finish podcast that I found myself sitting next to the lady who does the voice for my sat nav, because her name's Kathy, and the sat-nav name's Kathy, which is unusual. It just happened, but they called it Kathy because she's Irish, and they thought it was a typical Irish name, and they called that voice Kathy. And it just happens that the lady who recorded it is called Kathy as well. That was a coincidence. But I've been chatting to her over a few weeks. I haven't seen her for weeks now, actually. But we were sitting, next to each other on desks at Radio 4 Extra, both typing our scripts to record in the afternoon for the presenting we do. And she went off to the loo or to get a coffee. I don't know what. Needn't go into those details, please. I said to my producer, she sounds like my sat-nav. And they said, she probably is. I said, really? She said, yeah, ask her when she comes back. And I said, Kathy, are you my sat-nav? She said, yeah, I expect so. And so now, Steph and I call our sat-nav Kathy. We don't call it the sat-nav. So we'll ask Kathy, see what Kathy thinks. And now I have an image of Kathy in my head every time we speak to her. The first thing I said to her when she said that she was the voice of my sat-nav, I said, you don't know the difference between bearing left and turning left. She said, it's not me.
So you turn around and say, I'm not going to be doing a U-turn in the next convenient opportunity. We're going to Cornwall. We're not turning back now. I remember that when our sat-nav wouldn't stop beeping. I was on the way to Leeds once, and it was just going dum, dum, and then I couldn't work out a way to turn it off. It was driving us mad. In the end, it was just a matter of just hitting it, like clicking buttons until it did something.
Oh, we have one it keeps going, the security lock has been enabled. You think, why? And then we can't enter a destination. You think, well, now all you are is a box with a light on, and that's of no use to us. I don't know how Steph gets it to work. She seems to hit it or something. Right, well, last email. This is from Laura Valensky. From Columbus. She says, just wanted to say how much I love your new podcast, though mostly I have no idea what you're talking about.
Neither do we. You're not alone.
Coming from across the pond, these shows are all brand new to me. I don't have a lot of time in my days to add a new TV show to the few I can watch, but it's fun to listen and add them to the to-do list. Keep up the fun. And gasp, I end up listening to Benji and Nick's show before the Big Finish podcast. Wow. Tangents rule. We indeed. We record it before the Big Finish podcast, don't we?
It's pretty much, if you go straight from the Benji and Nick show to the Big Finish podcast, you're pretty much listening to us in real time in terms of our workflow anyway. So you're not alone.
Oh dear. Something very peculiar happened today, by the way. A Big Finish email was sent out to a bunch of people, and someone obviously was typing in David Richardson's address, and they accidentally typed in David Arnold, the composer. And I don't know how, because I don't know who'd have his address. And I've got an email from David Arnold today saying, well, Nick, this is all very interesting, but I'm not quite sure why I've received this email. I wrote back and said, yeah, I'm not sure either. Sorry about that. And he said, well, I wish you the best, the best of British, he said. Bless him. Anyway.
What a champion.
So, yeah, that be the emails. Now, by the way, to send an email to us, you just email Nicholas Briggs. No, podcast at nicholasbriggs.com. Oh, dear.
Email David Arnold.
Yeah, yeah. He apparently wants to hear from you. I won't tell you his email address. That would be unfair. Is it an obvious email address? Let's have a look. Oh, crikey Moses, you could guess that. Right. Anyway, I didn't say that. Yes, so podcast at nicholasbriggs.com. We've got a competition running at the moment.
At nicholasbriggs.com.
Yeah, have you got it down there?
Yeah.
Okay. It's written on his hand.
In pencil.
That won't do. We've got a competition running, and we're giving away a new Captain Scarlet soundtrack album signed by the composer. And the question was, which character in New Captain Scarlet is a different gender to the characters, to how they were in Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons back in the 60s, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. And I think, this is all on the fly, I think the closing date is probably the 27th of April. I hope it's not today, because we haven't sorted it out.
Shall I have a look quickly? I've got I'll get up an old script and have a look.
Wow, that sounds too efficient to me. In the meantime, I'll amuse you with interesting noises in this bottle of water.
Please do.
That's literally all I've got. Hello. I'll be that character from the end of The Changes.
It's funny. The world will end. I am King Arthur. I'm stuck in a stone. Let me out.
Anyway, that is literally.
It really is stuck in a stone.
Right.
Here we go. Processing the script for last week.
Processing.
We have that's the emails.
Just going to have a bit of apple.
Who can blame him? Jerry got to this podcast. More at the end. There was a bit of a competition when they keep company this week's competition. Closing date 27th of April.
See, I was right.
Subject line Spectrum. Which character has changed gender from their representation in the original Captain Scarlet and the Mistron series? Answers on a postcard to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com.
Might be interesting if you can send a postcard. Right, there you are. We've dealt with all the difficult stuff. Let's talk about Timeslip, the wrong end of time. Have you managed to watch it?
I have. I watched it all. Finished it last night.
Oh, well done, mate. That's 6 episodes.
6. Well, they're 25 minutes long, so you can kind of, in the time that we've done this, you can watch about one a day. It's not too shabberoony. Liked it. Thought it was quite fun.
You didn't know anything about it, did you?
I knew it existed and certainly was keen to see it because I remember watching trailers when the DVD was released. It's one of those shows you kind of just have to see it, don't you? If you like your cult stuff, then you watch a bit of Timeslip. So Timeslip, for all of you that don't know what it is basically about a bunch of, three technically, but 2 kids who managed to go through almost, as it were, they go through a fence, which sort of leads them back in time. But are they back in time? Well, that's for you to make your own mind up. But basically, it's about how it's really hard to explain, isn't it? It's like the past and the present are in tangent together, and you're seeing them. They've got to try and escape being trapped in a military base under siege from German Nazi officers and get back to their own time, which is the 70s and not the 40s. But yeah, it's all kind of about time travel.
Tell me, what do you think about it?
So I thought overall, it was great fun. I thought the concepts were so cool. It's totally mind blowing for kid stuff as well. It takes itself very seriously, which is quite refreshing. I liked all that. Loved the war stuff. Found the actress, that girl, so annoying for the whole thing. She was one of the things. It was like putting it on. It's I'm looking forward to. Oh no, this again. Whereas the kids, the boy Simon, was awesome, and I liked him. I thought, I can take him seriously.
Spencer Banks, that was,
He's a cool cat.
He was liked by producers, and they made another series with him in almost immediately called Tightrope.
Tightrope?
Yeah, it was a real thriller thing. By the way, I mean, do you want to look up Spencer Banks? Because I think he had quite a career. He did all sorts of things. I don't know what he does now, but I think Cheryl Burfield, I think that's her name, who played Beth. I don't think she did any more acting after that.
She pretty much, I think she did one more thing and then she gave up.
Yeah, I know she
pursued other avenues, didn't she?
Well, because I met them both. There was a Timeslip convention back in the 80s or 90s, and I interviewed them on stage and met them. They're both really super people. I met Simon again at another convention, and he'd just done a Radio 4 version of The Cruel Sea, which I've heard, which is amazing. The only way you can get it is on cassette. I actually had to buy the cassette off Amazon and then convert it to digital files to listen to it. But they're both lovely people. But I seem to remember that Cheryl told me that she'd stopped acting pretty much afterwards. Now, you see, the experience for me is that I had the same feeling when I was, a youngster, when I watched it in 1970, and then when it was repeated in 1973, that I didn't like her performance. But watching it again, I found it much more, it's damning with faint praise, I'm afraid, but I found it much more tolerable because it was far less annoying than it had annoyed me when I was a kid. But I think, of course, a terrible thing to say, one of the reasons it annoyed me as a kid is because she was a girl, and I was at that age when boys don't like girls. Well, certainly not in my era, That's not true, actually. I had a girlfriend when I was about 6 years old, but that's by the by. But yes, you know what I mean? So, it's a girl. And also she was going, oh, Simon, what's the matter? It was that sort of whiny voice. But I mean, it was the character. You know what I mean?
And I mean, in fairness, if I was in that situation, I'd probably be exactly like her and be like terrified of and she's had a pretty bad day. I mean, she's, not only has she suddenly randomly turned up in World War II, there's some bloke there who she's pretty certain is her dad.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, that's being invaded by German Nazi officers. I'd probably be pretty damn shaken up, which is unlike Simon, who's like cool as a cat. He's just like, we better solve this. And
starts sort of making friends with the Nazi, though, doesn't he? It's a bit. I mean, the German officer's not a keen Nazi. He's quite a sympathetic chap. By the way, shouldn't we explain the plot? How would you explain the plot?
Well,
it's a bit late for anyone who's never seen it.
Yeah, well, we can slot this in earlier. We can do our own little time slip.
Oh, okay.
So Timeslip, for all of you that don't know what it is basically it's about a bunch of, three technically, but two kids who manage to go through almost, as it were, they go through a fence which sort of leads them back in time. But are they back in time? Well, that's for you to make your own mind up. But basically it's about how it's really hard to explain, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like the past and the present are in tangent together, and you're seeing them. They've got to try and escape being trapped in a military base under siege from German Nazi officers and get back to their own time, which is the 70s.
Yeah.
And not the 40s. But yeah, it's all kind of about time travel.
Hence the title, Timeslip. It's the bizarre thing about it is that they don't get their theory of time travel straight, because there's this sort of sinister man, Commander Trainer, Mr. Trainer, played brilliantly by Dennis Quilley.
He's great. He's probably my favourite performance in all of it. He's brilliant.
He's such a class act. I mean, he had an incredible career. Dennis Quilley, really incredible career. Brilliant actor, been in loads and loads of fantastic things. The whole thing, he talks about the theory of the time travel thing, and it's all linked to, it's like they're going into it in their minds, the kids. So why they
it's
actually
almost like astral projection,
and he calls it a time bubble, and yet there's no sign of a bubble anywhere. They just go through a split screen effect, a video split screen effect. So it's
there's also things like they can look through this fence and somehow see the past as well.
Well, no, the
future. Sorry, they can see.
Yeah, they can. The kids look back and they can see their parents sort of looking at them and thinking hello, and they can't see them. It's very eerie like that. It's beautifully done. It's very old-fashioned television.
It's distressing, I would say. There's a lot of distressing things throughout, especially to do with like the relationship between kids and their parents and that. And imagine, if you're a child and you're in probably the most traumatic experience of your life, suddenly winding up in the middle of World War II, being in a base, being invaded by the Nazis, and all you want to do really is run to your mum and dad, and you look over to see your mum and dad, but you can't.
Yeah.
You can't get to them. They don't hear your cries. I think that it does.
It's quite a distressing bit when she gets Liz, not Liz, because they call her Beth. You haven't seen the Icebox episode yet, have you? Because
queued up.
There's her future self is in that, and she's called Beth. Of course, she's called Liz, isn't she? That's I got it wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. And so she's called Beth. So you think she's someone else. I'm just spoiling an episode ending for you, and then you realise that she's a future possible her. So yeah, the Icebox. The whole series is very unfriendly and very upsetting. It gets very bleak as it goes along. Yeah,
I'd say it's cold. The whole thing feels very cold.
Well, and it's very, very cold in the Icebox. And there's a thing in that story that when I watched it the first time, I stopped watching and it wasn't until 1973 I saw the rest of the series, because there's a bit where someone horribly ages to death, and it's for whatever age I was, what would I have been? I would have been sort of 8 or something, 8 or 9 or something like that. It really traumatized me, actually. So I'm
not surprised though, because the whole
this was on at like 4:30 in the afternoon.
Well, this is the thing; it takes itself very seriously. And even today, like, I don't know if you would you'd show a program like that, but B, you've got Simon, this kid, rushing around with a gun in his hand in a base being invaded by Nazis. And there's some quite, there's this whole scene in a pub later on in which they're talking about defectors in the war, and it's very, it's not dumbed down. That's for sure. It's very, if you don't get it, you don't get it. You just have to put up with it and trudge on through. It's very adult.
Well, it's the point I've made before, isn't it, about like Children of the Stones versus the Changes.
Yes,
that the ITV stuff pulls no punches. It is made by a children's department, but they just make drama, and they put kids in it, and they have a child element to it, but actually they're just doing a science fiction story. I love the way they justify the science. They have Peter Fairley, who people of my generation know was the ITN science correspondent, who did all the moon landing stuff and everything for ITV. It was Patrick Moore for the BBC, but for ITV it was Peter Fairley. So his voice was very familiar to us in the early 70s because there were a lot of Apollo missions. And when there were Apollo missions, ITV and BBC would suspend their normal programmes, and all you could see on the television was the Apollo mission. So we grew to hate space exploration in the early 70s. You think, oh, for goodness sake.
Another one.
Yeah, your regular programs went on because it'd be Peter Fairley going, yes, I think we can see a small blurry thing. Let me explain. That is the lunar module. I know it doesn't look like it. The view's not very good, but and those blobby things bouncing up and down, that's Neil Armstrong, yes. So they get Peter Fairley on at the beginning, sort of going, you've probably heard of time travel. What if it were real? I'm now going to give you a really stupid explanation to give some weight to this piece of tosh coming up now.
Our scientists are working on this theory at the moment, and it is going to be explained to you in this drama. It's all very like...
And then it isn't. It isn't explained. His explanation of time travel is nothing like the explanation of time travel in the script. That's the hilarious thing in the story.
It has no ground at all. It has no scientific grounding. But it's telly, isn't it?
Telly, mate.
At the same time, it's telly for kids, and that's how it is,
There's lots of beautiful, real emotion in it, Cheryl Burfield's annoying voice notwithstanding.
When you've got grieving parents, grieving adults.
I think the mother's very, very good, isn't she?
She's brilliant. All that talking German. You're talking German. Am I?
Yes. She's psychically linked to Liz. So she keeps getting flashes of what Liz is experiencing. So when her daughter gets shot, she thinks her daughter's died. It's really strong
My
stuff.
favourite thing was she said, they're causing trouble. They're causing trouble. So what does that mean? That could mean anything. They're not stealing Lugers. Start pulling the trousers down of naval officers. I'll tell you who else is in this that I love is Derek Benfield.
Yes.
Who I absolutely love him because he was in a show which I always thought was brilliant, but it's called Hetty Wainthorpe Investigates.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Hetty Wainthorpe was brilliant. I love that show. A 90s show about Patricia Routledge being a detective, and he plays her husband, and it's brilliant. So it was an absolute joy to see him in this.
He was also in The Brothers, which was a big...
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was like the foreman or something, yeah. And that was a series that Colin Baker became famous for, which is why he ended up being cast in Doctor Who, playing a character called Paul Merony, I think it was. Did you look up Spencer Banks and Cheryl Burfield, by the way?
I did, yes. Spencer Banks had a very his career just kept going.
Yeah,
and he's been in quite a few things. I think he's still active today. I think he's doing a film, or the last thing he did was a film in 2015, which feels like today anyway. So he's been Doctors, No Job for a Lady, Christmas Carol, Grandad. Oh, he was in Grandad. That was good fun. That show in the 80s. Minder. Crossroads. He did 11 episodes of Crossroads.
Is that the old Crossroads or the
old Crossroads? Old Crossy.
Have you seen Tightrope? Is Tightrope there?
Tightrope is he played Martin Clifford, who must be some relative. Oh, it's by Victor Pemberton. Pemberton, even. I should. Yes, that wrong. Yes, it is. It's by Victor Pemberton.
Captain Pemberton.
Pemberton, yes, Pemberton, sir. Fury from the Deep, Timeslip, Tightrope, Ace of Wands.
Oh, he's in Ace of Wands. Oh, probably in one of the episodes that doesn't exist.
No, Victor Pemberton.
Oh, I know. Oh, I see. Right. Oh, yeah, Victor was. I met Victor on many an occasion, and I remember he spoke when I did that convention for Timeslip, Victor was there on the panel, and he was a big fan of Simon and wanted him to do more roles, so yeah.
He was very good, clearly everybody thought that because Spencer went on to have a great career.
I think his voice sort of breaks during Timeslip. I think his voice gets deeper as it goes on. Yeah, it's kind of that.
We'll go this way.
Well, and it's brilliant. In another episode, they go somewhere, and where do they go? They go into the past, and they hear Simon calling down to his mother, but they've speeded up his voice to make him sound younger. It's, that's the younger me, It does go when Victor Pemberton gets hold of Timeslip, it's like he doesn't take any notice of anything that's happened in the previous episodes, and he just creates his own really crazy different thing. And there's whole stuff about the time bubble sucking people in, and it follows no. I mean, I will watch it all again. But I remember the ending just goes off beam. I love The Wrong End of Time and The Icebox because they are very beautifully structured scripts. But I would say controversially, and it seems unfair because poor Victor died not very long ago. But I think that Victor went a bit off-piste with it and ran with the baton, and was so pleased to be running, he didn't really look where he was running. Going, hey, Timeslip, I love this. I don't know what it means, but it's great.
But, you're saying about going in his own direction with it. I think if it was on children's television today, say they brought it back for CBBC or CITV or whatever, or BBC Two, I think it would really work. You could so do it today, and it would be absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Just work in something like... They go into the Wi-Fi cloud, which takes them through time and space, and all this sort of thing.
And it costs you £1.47 a month.
Yes, and if you're not careful and you go over, you will get charged. But I'm watching Timeless at the moment, as I think you commented on Twitter, and Timeless is
does that start with the Hindenburg thing?
Yeah. I think it's quite good. I actually quite like it.
It's a bit one of those cheesy, things, I think.
It's very cheesy, but I it's one of those things you can put it on and kind of lose yourself for a while. Apart from today's one with Ian Fleming, which they wound me up so much because they referenced James Bond twice and they didn't use correct references. They referenced Skyfall, which Ian Fleming had no hand in, and then they referenced Never Say Never Again, which isn't even an official Bond thing, and they didn't mention any other Bond things, and they also there was an opportunity where they could have said vodka martini, and they didn't. Shaken, not stirred. The one thing you would say, and all you needed to do was him to turn around and say, that's got a nice ring to it. That's all you need. And anyway, Ian Fleming, I don't even believe he went behind enemy lines as far as I'm concerned, but there we go.
He was an intelligence officer, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I don't think he went undercover in Nazi Germany. I don't think so, anyway.
No, I saw an episode of Timeless, and that was enough for me. I found it.
I have got, in fact, sorry to interrupt.
Yes,
carry on. Sorry, I've got a great anecdote to tell you. Actually,
no, I want to hear it now.
My friend told me today about Ian Fleming and John Pertwee.
Yeah, well, yes, well, quite.
Quite. Let me just get. I'll read it. Yeah, he said, I've got a great story from an interview he gave once. This is my friend Robert said this. He might be listening even.
Hello, Robert.
Basically, what happened was that John Pertwee served under Ian Fleming in the Second World War. And here we go. So he was serving under Fleming in naval intelligence during the war. Fleming told him about a posting that had come up and urged Pertwee to put himself forward. So he did. He then found out that the job involved speaking French and feared that it might mean being sent to liaise with the Free French and the Resistance, which obviously would be a horribly dangerous job, and I wouldn't want to do it. Let's be honest. So Pertwee deliberately, he totally flubbed the interview and gave his poorest performance possible. And afterwards, Fleming called him into his office and said, "Oh, you know, how could you have done it? What went wrong? You know, you're one of the best men. This is perfect for you. You know, why did it go to us?" And Pertwee said, "Oh, you know, yes, well, quite. I botched it on purpose because I didn't want to go undercover in France." And Fleming looked at him and said, "You blithering idiot. We were going to have you as our next man in Tahiti." Which would have been a lovely little jolly for the rest of the war, you know, sitting out, chill out on a lovely island.
Wow.
So, of course, what a funny little anecdote there. I quite like that. I thought, yeah, that sums it up, doesn't it?
Yes, well, quite.
Thank you, Robert, for that one.
You know, John Pertwee narrowly missed being destroyed on HMS Hood.
He did, yes. It was one of his very famous stories, isn't it?
It was because it was hit in the magazine and was basically vaporized when the Bismarck sank it. But Pertwee was taken off duty just before it went off. That's right, isn't it? Before it headed off to engage the Bismarck. Yeah. Otherwise, he would have been on board because he was a member of the crew. There you go.
The world works in strange ways, doesn't it? You know, it's funny how, you know, you can be doing one thing 1 minute, step out the room quickly to, I don't know, make a cup of tea, and bang, your life's changed. And
bang, the Bismarck sunk a ship.
Suddenly Thunderbirds arrive and go...
Everything has blown up. What? Anything else to say about Timeslip?
I think it's certainly, as you know, as we always say, I think it's worth a watch. I think the one thing about it actually is that you have to keep reminding yourself that it's made in the 70s and not the 60s, because it's in black and white, and obviously originally was broadcast in colour. Yeah,
one of the episodes remains in colour. There's one of the later episodes that's in colour that just they happen to have the videotape of rather than the film copy.
It does make a difference to when you're watching it in black and white and you're thinking, "Oh, this feels a lot older than it." You know, older. It feels like a 60s thing when it isn't.
Well, I suppose it was possibly made. Yeah, it was possibly made in 1969 because it was shown in 1970. So they might have started work on it in 69. I don't know.
It was very good. Good telly, that. Good cult telly.
Throwing back to last week's one, Zodiac. I watched the rest of it because I love it so much.
I've been watching Timeslip, so I haven't been able to delve in.
I'd already seen Timeslip. I cheated, you see. And I, you know, that whole thing about Anushka Hempel having been seen to play Jo Grant. I've been working with Katie Manning, so I brought it up. That was quite funny. She sort of was going, yeah, and I said, but obviously, you know, she didn't get the job. She said, well, no, she was too tall. And I said, well, she has a kind of sort of snootiness to her, you know, performance, which wouldn't be right for Jo. But I kept bringing up Anushka Hempel. I could see that Katie was getting she was sort of going, yeah, all right, enough about. And I went for she said that basically they often turned up at the same auditions. You know, they were in the same casting bracket, basically. Yeah. But let me just say how utterly gutted I was that at the last episode, of course, Zodiac just ends and there's no special ending at all. It's just...
Oh, it's one of those.
Yeah. And you know, I mentioned the episode I was watching, episode 5, she has a sore throat in it. And it's not mentioned, but she spends the whole episode talking like this. And then right at the end... he rescues her from being stabbed, basically, by Robert Powell. Anton Rogers rescues her from being stabbed by Robert Powell. And she falls into his arms, and Anton Rogers' arms, and goes to kiss him right on the lips. And he puts his hand, and you know how they do those sort of bits of bickering as the theme tune fades in. And he goes, no, I don't want to kiss you. I don't want to catch that cold. Oh, so they improvised it in at the end. There was no mention. Fun. And she says, I don't care, I'm going to spit all over you. And I'm sure that wasn't in the script.
Complete, just, having a laugh. Oh, bless them.
Yeah, anyway.
They should have made more. It's one of those things, though. Time.
And I tell you, that episode and the final episode, she really is the main character. He is in it a lot. But you know what I mean? She is the absolute... And this is why I'm so excited. It's like this, I would say proto-feminist, but, you know, feminism was a thing in the 70s. But I just... it's incredible to see such It makes me rather sadly think that one of the reasons it wasn't popular is because it was about a strong female character who drove the plot along. I think actually we've stumbled upon something that was incredibly revolutionary, actually. I know our loyal listener, Stephen Hatcher, he wrote to me and said, seriously, you like Zodiac?
Oh, it's cool though, isn't it? I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, he suggested something else that we try at a later point. I can't find his email just now, but we'll go back to that. He said, well, if you like Zodiac, you might like boom. Yeah, another thing from the 70s, a sort of crime thing. So what are we gonna watch?
Do you know, can we please, I really want to talk about it, is the 80s Day of the Triffids. I love it so much.
Okay.
I'd love an opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah.
So I'd really, I know it like the back of my hand, and any excuse to watch it again would be fantastic.
Yes, I've got it here somewhere. Goodness, I'm going to have to search that one out. Brilliant solution. I was going to say solution and suggestion at the same time. Brilliant suggestion.
Add it to the dictionary.
There we have it. Well,
I do believe that's the most brilliant suggestion.
I thought you just turned around to look at your keyboard. I thought you were going to suddenly play a tune then.
I wish it's not
connection, mate. No.
Not connect. No, I could try, but no noise comes out.
Yeah, let's guess the notes from the way you're hitting it.
Yeah, it's an interpretive. It's like an interpretive dance, but it's an interpretive song. You interpret it.
So I think that's actually just about it, isn't it? You've just headbutted the microphone.
Every time I go to do this voice, my glasses hit the microphone shock mount. It's just part of it, really. So, this week we've discussed Timeslip. If you like it, check it out. Write in if you are a fan, or write in if you're not.
Oh yes, and rate and review us as well.
Please do, yes, and share us around and do what you got to do, because, you know, the more we get out there, the more fun it is doing this. Not that it's not fun, we love it, but it's always nice to know that people are listening.
We could go the opposite way and say, don't we insist that no one listens, so we just make sure that we only eventually have, I don't know, Steve Hatcher, maybe. We could nominate one listener and insist that no one else listens the next week. That would be cool.
So this is for you. Or we can go the other way and just say, you must only listen to this in really inconvenient public places, like through a loudspeaker in a library. Or
and see how long it takes for people to throw you out. No, I'm playing the Benji and Nick show. Yeah.
We got one here from Brian in Essex, who said he played it at a funeral which wasn't anything to do with him, and the vicar punched him in the face. Needless to say, they left it on because they started enjoying it.
They buried the podcast with the dearly departed,
who has it on repeat until the battery runs out. They haven't got the battery turned on. So it's a little reference there. Anyway, yes, I do believe it is time for us now to depart. So thank you for listening. I've been Benji.
I've been Nick.
Good night, day, morning.
Yes, that. Pressing stop now.